champion of the. So he is champion of the subject, and we are recording this session, and we will put it shortly on Facebook and other places, LinkedIn also. And you can write me for CP hours on this chat, and number of those who are sending me their membership ID, I will issue the certificate on the basis of which you can claim the CP credit. And also I'll put it on the portal through ISACA portal Ahmedabad. I need you to remain present until the last 1.5 hours. And ISACA chapter is conducting regular seminar, and there are many faculties are coming. We are taking offbeat subject of ISACA also. On the offbeat subject, we don't give the ISACA hours to CP hours. We do credit. We need a certain faculty also. So please join as a faculty. We need n number of faculties because classes and we are going very good. Our rank in number of members increment is around 4th highest number of increment in number of percentage by members. And Mr. Satya has taken record number of lectures, talks. So with this, Mr. Satya, can I give you a mic?
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Pathak and Dr. Kushru and Mr. Nayak and other governing body members of ISACA Ahmedabad. Though I relocated to Hyderabad chapter ISACA, I continue to associate with Ahmedabad chapter because there is a clear possibility of my returning back to Ahmedabad and join Mr. Nitin Pathak. The opportunities are as of now are visible from western part of India only. So Nitin Pathak has given me multiple number of opportunities and associating with ISACA Ahmedabad for the past 3 years.
And we are having a number of work for you. We will not allow you to retire because we need your services in training. We need our services in ISACA audit at different places where you can guide us in making manuals and so many things. So you don't think that you are retired. You are with us and we need you. With this, I hand over the mic to you, sir. Back to you.
So very good evening, friends. Myself, Satya Gidgu, I worked as head of information systems audit of Bank of Baroda. And I also worked as head of global cybersecurity operations of Bank of Baroda and retired a week back. And yesterday I have taken in our training center in Hyderabad. And today this is the opportunity from ISACA Ahmedabad. And day after tomorrow, 2 sessions I am having morning and evening from IDRBT Hyderabad for Chief Technology Officers. This today's session is on information systems audit. It is a basics of information system audit and application security. What are the application security audit? Those things will be covered in this session. So I am starting my session. Dear friends, information systems audit is a systematic examination of an organization's information systems, processes, controls, and technologies to ensure their effectiveness, security, and compliance with regulations. It involves evaluating the design, implementation, and monitoring of information systems to identify vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and opportunities for improvement. As you are aware, the primary purpose of information systems audit is to provide an independent assessment of an organization's information systems and related process. It aims to identify weaknesses, risks, and potential areas for improvement in the organization's environment. About the information systems audit and about its objectives and what critically will be looking into the information systems audit, time and again in the coming 2-3 slides will be revisiting them to have a clear concept on what we are going to do. The objectives of information systems audit But the key components are control evaluation, risk assessment, data integrity, efficiency and effectiveness, security assessment, and compliance verification. Actually, at the later slide, we'll be telling that in information system auditors, the three things are CIA triad will be discussing further. Now we are telling the objectives, control evaluations, assessing the effectiveness of internal controls in place to protect data and ensure operational integrity, and risk assessment, identifying and evaluating potential risks that could impact the organization's information systems. Data integrity is very critical, verifying the accuracy and reliability of data stored and processed within the information systems. So the regulatory requirements are also well placed. In BFSI sector, the Reserve Bank intends the banks to ensure data both in at rest and both in movement. They should be properly protected. Efficiency and effectiveness. Evaluating the efficiency and effectiveness of an IT processes in achieving the business goal. There is a small difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is doing things faster and speedier, whereas effectiveness is doing the things, the right things. The effectiveness is much at the corporate, at the strategy level. The direction is what direction? That's effectiveness. The efficiency is the speed. So an ISI has to look into whether the information system is doing it efficiently and effectively. Security assessment, identifying vulnerabilities and weaknesses that could lead to security breaches and unauthorized access, and compliance verification, ensuring that the organization adheres to relevant laws, regulations, and industry standards. Like our Ahmedabad is having huge pharma, big pharma companies are located in Ahmedabad, be it in TAS, be it huge number of global conglomerates in pharma. So there are regulations, very stringent regulations were there. So the information systems processing should be based as per the regulations. Now that yesterday in one of the events, they are telling certain target groups, they are trying to attack the bio infra of that nation, especially the pharma sector. So information system auditors plays a critical role in ensuring that the organization is ensuring the regulatory guidelines. At the beginning, I told you, for an information system auditor, he has to ensure that information systems are adhering to the CIA triad. CIA triad means C stands for confidentiality, I stands for integrity, and A stands for availability. The systems should always be confidential. The integrity of the system is always protected, and the availability of the system is always ensured. Again, here you should understand the availability should be based on the need to know and need to use concept. The availability to the authorized persons at all times. They are aware the threats to the CIA triad or DAD. For the confidentiality, the threat is disclosure. If your account balance was disclosed, the confidentiality was impaired. So the information system should ensure that your account balance, the confidentiality of your account balance or employee data or medical data, they are always protected from any threats. They are always protected against disclosure events. And the integrity. The data integrity should always be ensured. The information system should process the information, that the information's integrity is always ensured. The integrity, threat to the integrity is alteration. So the integrity should be protected always against alteration. Suppose your bank balance 1 million was altered as 1 lakh. Serious financial repercussions will happen. So the banking software should always protect your data. So, and it should avoid your data from any alterations or unauthorized transactions. Then availability. Availability we discussed earlier. The availability should be need-based, need to know, need to do, and to the privileged persons, and to the extent it should be available based on the access control list you are having, or whatever list you are having, whatever the management guidelines or anything, the access should be available. The transaction authorization, that should be available to a supervisor, whereas transaction posting should be available to a assistant. So this availability should be based on the need and hierarchy based. And you should, as an information system auditor, should audit the systems whether the availability is always protected or not. The threat to availability is destruction. Denial of service is one of the threat. Suppose an online Walmart is there. They will do most of the things online. Or Amazon we are having. Flipkart we are having. Indian stories. Their services are available on the website. If the availability was hampered and through a denial of service attack or something, somebody makes the system not available, the Walmart or DMart or Flipkart, they will lose their business. In fact, in Western countries, during the peak hours, when they are having the sales, they are having their Christmas Eves and all, entire Western world celebrate. At that time, some people will try to critical establishment, try to hamper their availability through denial of service attacks or distributed denial of service attacks, whatever the means that an outsider tries to make the availability impaired. The information system auditor should examine during his audit these probabilities, possibilities, and the actions placed, the safeguards placed to the information system so that they are always available. Again, here confidentiality and integrity and availability, all three are important. Some are more important on a case-to-case basis. Like, for example, an online hospital, he is having the patient records. Online patient records, if a patient is being treated with the records available online, if the records are not available, the timely medicine and the timely action to the patient will be delayed and the health of the patient may be impaired. So in a medical records where online a person is getting treatment with the medical records available online, the availability is most important at that point. In case of bank records, your account balance is 1 million rupees, 10 lakh rupees. A 9 lakh was withdrawn and the balance was made available 1 lakh. Huge financial implication. So in such kind of a financial transactions, the integrity is most important. So the integrity, the availability based on the situations, they are more important and more required than the other three, other two factors. And you should also ensure the system efficiency. System efficiency means the system should consume minimum resources as consumption. Consumption is cost. So suppose 6 units of CPU is required. So IT has obtained 12 units of CPU or hard disk capacity. 50% it is not utilized. And it is not utilized for past 1 month. And there is no possibility also for any growth in the database or something coming next month or twice. Here what is happening? The IT has deployed more than required systems for the transaction. So it is costing the business. So, and at the same time, it should not be less also. It should not be less means, suppose the system should meet the peak hour performance should be there. Peak hour performance means, suppose internet banking, the first week of transactions, they will hit. And the second week may not be that much. Third week may not be that much. So the peak hour. So whether the IT system is using a balancing equipment, whether IT system is using any virtualization or something, whether the IC system is using the systems efficiently, you have to ensure in your audit. And system effectiveness, whether the objectives of the system are met or not. The intended purpose of the application is met or not, that is the system effectiveness. So during your information system audit, an information system auditor should always think whether the information system's confidentiality, integrity, availability, effectiveness, and efficiency are always ensured or not, meeting the regulatory requirement, meeting the individual organization requirements, whatever the guidelines set by the organization, guidelines set by the regulator, all the things are being properly ensured or not. The scope of the information system audit, it covers the entire gamut of organization's IT environment, hardware, software, networks, data management, application systems, user access controls, disaster recovery plan, and so on. Disaster recovery plans are risk mitigants to your availability. Okay, there are concepts like RTO, RPO, based on the prescribed RTO, RPO, the organization should adhere to a business continuity policy. Again, in the BFSI sector, there are certain guidelines by Reserve Bank of India on the business continuity of the organization. Any organization, the business continuity is more critical. So including business continuity, the scope of the audit is the entire gamut of IT environment. They say people, process, technology. Another concept is 3Ps. So you will be ensuring well the people, right set of people were there who can execute the things properly, and the processes were right. They will ensure the intended objective of the organization. The technology is live to the situation, and the patch management, other things are there. The technology is not having any vulnerabilities inside, because and known vulnerabilities were remediated or not. These Windows or Unix, the manufacturers, machine manufacturers themselves will say that a vulnerability, they will find out vulnerabilities in their platforms, and they release the patches to mitigate the vulnerabilities. And you have to ensure whether the organization is having an effective patch management, and whatever the known vulnerabilities were remediated from the technology. whether the outdated hardware was removed from your system. Any one hardware system, one outdated system, or one non-patched system can create a havoc to the organization. In fact, in one of the cooperative banks from Pune, which was hit by a 100 crore cyber crime, one of the PCs, PCs from Bombay was infected with a ransomware, and it spread to the entire network of the bank. So one rogue system can also impair, hamper your organization. And if you go to the Information Technology Act 2000, the Information Technology Act prescribes every commercial organization should have a internal control on the information systems, like they should follow a global standard like ISO 27001 like, so that the information systems are effectively or properly managed. Why I am telling, if your system was used by a hacker, and if your system was used as a rogue machine, and if he does any acts on another organization, your system will also be, your organization will also be responsible. So IS should be careful that the hardware is devoid of the hardware related risks, and the patch management is proper. And this is covering, I am covering in the scope of the IS audit. The scope of the IS audit is entire IS audit universe is the entire applications. But during the audit plan, the organization can do the prioritize that the chief audit executive, along with the head of information technology, will plan at the start of the year an annual action plan. And in that annual plan, based on the criticality of the applications, priority of the organization, and based on the available manpower and the available mandates, they create an annual audit plan. And they are telling, because its risks are emerging and risk regulatory requirements are ever changing, and new kind of challenges will come. So one of the best benchmark in preparing an annual audit plan, the information system auditor or information system audit should have a 20% open space to take up any additional requirement, urgent audits came into to do it. So the plan should be a flexible plan. It should be a risk-based plan, and it should meet the top risks of the organization on a priority basis. At the same time, the plan should be having some flexibility to take care of any unforeseen expectations from the management or regulator, to ensuring that the plan coverage is properly done. So the plan should cover everything. In BFSI sector, there's a regulatory requirement that your all the application should be at a minimum covered at a 3-year life cycle. Now that most of the organizations, 90% of their applications they are doing in the annual audit plan only. The applications or something will be, again, they will be financial, non-financial, based on certain criteria. They will be classified as high, medium risk applications, and high risk applications, high critical applications are high. They should be 9 months tenure or 1 year, medium 2 years or something, and a low risk application 3 years or something. But entire the audit universe has to be covered in a lifespan of 3 years. And if you cover in a lifespan of 2 years, it will be much better. Scope is usually determined on the organization's specific needs and objectives. Here we'll be discussing about IS audit process. The IS audit process typically involves planning, fieldwork, reporting, follow-up. Earlier I told about planning. The planning is, I told at the broad level, planning means annual action plan and entire IS audit universe preparation and that one. But the granular level, you have to plan the scope, the objectives, and the right candidate for the resource required. that you have to plan. Suppose one audit is there, then what is the scope of the audit? Again, the scope, objective, you have to understand what is the application, for what purpose it is meant, whether the, again, CIA is maintained, whether the effectiveness, efficiency, that framework is the same. And there are guidelines also, though IS auditors are not fraud risk auditors or something, but various guidelines of regulatory guidelines or global guidelines say you should also have to control the fraud risk. The scope of fraud also should be considered while planning your Institute of Chartered Account of India guidelines were also there. Institute of Internal Auditors guidelines were there. Institute of Internal Auditors, a global body on internal audit, they say that fraud risk is not the primary criteria of an IS auditor, but the possibility of fraud, where segregation of duties are there, where executive override is there, where market-checker controls were there, the probability is more. So the auditor should be more careful. The triggers of fraud, the elements of fraud, where scope for fraud or fraud is there, the IS auditor should be more skeptic, and he can be more, he can increase his audit, he can increase his, he can go a little more into the audit, or he can increase the sample. The sampling should sufficiently, again, sampling itself is a big topic. The sampling should sufficiently, adequately cover that all kind of rings are surfaced. So that is the planning. Field work is gathering information, assessing controls, testing process, and evaluating the risks. So auditors should open their eyes, ears, and all. So some people are doing the statutory audit and all. Annually, they will come 6 days, they will attest the financials of a bank, but they will be seeing the things, how the controls are there, what is the portfolio they are acquiring and all. So they will gather information, they will assess the controls, the existence of the controls and effectiveness of the controls. Again, COSO ERM framework, an elaborate framework by the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations, but and the Sarbanes-Oxley Act definitely stipulates the Western world or US companies, they have to follow SOX, SOX, and for Sarbanes-Oxley Act, the chief audit executives, the CFO and CEO have to ascertain that the controls are existing and the controls are effective. So for their attestation, that depends very heavily on the internal IS auditors. So you have to ensure during your field work whether the controls are adequate, whether they are working, whether the controls are operating throughout. Like in a BFSI sector, during the day-end operations and all, there could be a possibility of some controls non-operating or something. Those kind of critical things you should be in a position to examine, and those kind of risks you should be in a position to identify. And testing the process and evaluating the risks that you have to do during your field work. Reporting, summarizing the findings, identifying the issues, and providing recommendations for improvement. Follow-up, monitoring up implementation of recommended actions and tracking the progress. Because information system audit, even it is given to an external person, the management gives them to have a revisit that whatever the suggested controls were implemented or not. Suppose the revisit has to complete in a month's time and all, at least critical controls, whatever they suggested were implemented or something, the person who has carried out the audit, he will review and he will give an attestation to the management. Though it is not the primary responsibility of the auditor to ensure that the suggested controls were implemented or not, but management is making it mostly mandate that please revisit and that the controls, suggested controls were implemented. It all depends on the assignment given to you by the management. But mostly even external auditors were also employed by organizations on a 3-year basis or something. At least they have to revisit the previous visits. Controls were implemented or not, whether the same control efficiency again erupted, then you can understand the environment is not good. So those things will be there will be more risk triggers if the suggested controls were not there, and recurring observations are coming, recurring failures are coming, and that is more unwanted and the adverse feature. That's why auditors usually repeat observation. They will say, though I suggested it, they have not mitigated it, or whatever mitigation process is wrong, and the problem again erupted back. That you have to, again, what is the root cause, proper root cause analysis is there or something, proper understanding is there, and the proper implementation of the control is there or not, you have to revisit. So follow-up is most important. Whatever suggested controls were implemented, then the organization will be away from the risk. Inherent risk is a concept that I want you all to understand properly, especially in the IT environment. Suppose you are having a manual ledger tallying balance sheet, GL, PL, everything. That's all time a different story. There's no IT risk involved. Entire manual processing. Then you have to see whether the Maka checker is there, whether tallying is there, subledger is maintained or something, those kind of controls you will see. But now predominantly we are using information technology in all our business process. Information technology itself is having a unique risks that are inherent to information systems. IT itself brings risk to the entity regarding its systems, business process, financial accounting processing. The risk is unique to IT, and without IT being present, that risk would not exist. Best example is a manual system. Whether database crashed, everything is a general ledger, then ledger, small ledgers, then you are having other things, day book, all the things, human, voucher, physical record, everything physical form. Then nothing. Your UPS is not required, your hardening is not required, your computer system is not required, nothing is required. What the inherent risk is, the IT system itself is creating risk to you. If the backup fails, then the entire data has gone away. It's a very critical risk. So IT auditors have to open their eyes and ears more. And our IT itself should not create the hindrance to the business. So inherent technology risks, you should be in a position to understand them more critically, examine them, and you have to ensure that the organization is devoid or avoid those IT risks. Like I told, patch management, change management, hardware, the hardware should be there, not internet, and whatever is there, you are having all the systems should be robust. There should not be any loopholes, bank and entries or something, that all you have to ensure. Systems development, SDLC IT will follow. Whether during the SDLC software development life cycle, at every part of SDLC, the security was incorporated or not. That you have to understand. The other day, I am hearing to Senior Vice President of Infosys. She says the code itself was done in a secured way. That is Infosys' primary criteria. I always say, my people, secure code. That's why regulatory requirement is there in pharma industry and in banking industry. Secure code review is mandatory. The code review should happen securely. And thus coding should happen securely. So this technology related risks, you should understand them very critically. As an IS auditor, it is expected of you all the IT inherent risks, and you have to ensure that the IT system is away from the vulnerabilities. Application security controls. Controls are those controls that pertain to the scope of individual business, process, or application systems. The application security is the process of developing, adding, or testing whatever security features within application to prevent security vulnerabilities against threats such as unauthorized access and modification. As earlier we mentioned, at every stage of the application, whether the controls, the required controls were inbuilt or not, that you have to ensure it in application security. Data edit, separation of business functions, balancing of processing totals, transaction logging, error reporting. At all these stages, the security is there or not, you have to ensure. Objectives are the input is correct, complete, authorized, data is processed properly in an acceptable time period, data is stored accurately and completely, outputs are accurate. So 1,000 rupees you audit into an account, the output should come 1,000. Input record is maintained to track the process of data from input to storage and to eventual output. Audit trail is most important. Input, there should be audit trail. Accounting balances and all. So audit trail is a very critical requirement, and you have to ensure that proper audit trails were maintained. So input controls are those to check the input of data that is entered into the system. Suppose a PIN code is 6 digit. A PIN code, it should not allow 7 digits. Mobile number, it should not allow 10 numbers. Aadhaar should not allow. Okay, PAN card. PAN card is having both alphanumeric, but maximum number of alpha, maximum. Field level validation should be there. Parameters, specified parameters. Okay. It should not be unlimited amount to be allowed or something. This based on the system, how robust your input controls are there, that much integrity will be there in the data processing. So what are feasible, what are available, what are possible input controls, validation controls in the system should be there. So system will not allow garbage to be inputted. So PIN code, Ahmedabad, Nitin Pathak's office 380001. It should not be ABCD, EFG. So this you have to do during your audit, whether input controls are ensured, processing controls are ensured, integrity controls are ensured, input, processing, output, all the controls through audit trails and all, you have to ensure whether they are working as intended and working always, that you have to do. There are kind of preventive controls, you know, relative controls, corrective controls, compensatory controls. You are an expert, or people are knowing input, processing and output controls. We are telling about the preventive controls, reactive controls, corrective controls, compensating controls. So important is preventive controls. Preventive controls prevents errors from occurring within an application, like input data validation. The data validation controls are there. They will prevent a lot of unwanted data to be inputted. Routine checks. And the routine checks should make sure that the data is entered in consistent along with the program logic, and only allows correct data to be saved. Incorrect or invalid data rejected at the time of data entry. Detective controls are those based on the predefined program logic. There will be some detective controls. Some of detective controls, audit itself is a detective control. So you will take the detective controls are controls that are there to detect any anomaly. Audit is the one of the best detective control. Or your organizations or your verifications, your supervisory reviews are detective controls. You will review the balance sheet and all, whether the outcomes are correct and all. And you may find out something. It's a detective control. Data warehouse is a tool, and analytics are tools that a lot of organizations will use. They can be used as a monitoring control. Data warehouse and all, or even your output Excel, your simple Excel can tell. So you will take the output. What is the per unit cost paid? You will take the entire output, and you will sort it by value, and you will find outliers. 999 is there. What is 999? When your unit price is 444, how a unit is purchased raw material at 999? So that's the detective control. Whatever is there, supervisory checks are detective control. Your data warehouse is there, and you are having huge data. Previous data you will take, and the entire data you will run from the data warehouse, and you will find out from that, okay, term deposits more than 10%. I should not give. Anything is there, any anomaly is there. Through this data warehouse, you can find a lot of any anomaly that happened earlier due to violation of any of the input control or processing control. That through this monitoring controls, you can find out whether earlier any previous day any wrongdoing has happened. Like I am telling, in manufacturing sector, unit cost 300 rupees is the maximum. Oh, okay, it is having a range spread of 250 to 300, because quality will be considered, partner will be considered, from 1% to 1%, one manufacturer. You will procure different things from different bargaining prices and this one. But what if they should be range bound? They should be within a spread of 200 to 300. If suppose something is there at 400, then it's outlay. Management don't accept. Management has given you a cap of 300 rupees. Anything beyond 300 in manufacturing sector, you can find them. In earlier core banking system and all, the system used to allow a lot of things there to be account level, customer level, and all. If the input was given, same input was given at multiple locations, the system will add and it will give you 3 times more required than the rate of interest. You have to understand about the application controls and IT general controls. Earlier, we have mentioned a few application controls and what actions you have to take or how understanding you should have on them, so that you can have observe the things that the application controls are deviating. Now we'll discuss about IT general controls. IT general controls are most important. IT general controls are components, process, and data present in an organization to ensure the appropriate development and implementation of the application. IT general control is the overall IT framework within which the applications are developed or applications are working. Common IT general controls are logical access controls, our infrastructure, applications and data, system development, life cycle controls, program change management controls, physical security controls. You are having a data processing unit. It should be properly physically controlled, like payment card data you are processing. So PCI DSS standards says physical security standards what an organization should follow in a unit that processes card data. BFSI prescribes what controls are required, physical controls to data processing unit. System and data backup and recovery controls. How the data backup is taken. How the data backup has to be retained. Like 7 years is the retention period. And the periodic testing of the data. Whatever backup, what is the media in which you are storing the data? Whether the data can be retrieved in case of necessity. So all the things, recovery controls. Recovery controls means your business continuity. Suppose something happens. This location, you are an exceptionally large organization. Whether your other unit is there, your DR site will be in a position to quickly can it start functioning. Recovery controls, computer operation controls. So IT general controls are the controls that the entire IT organization IT adheres to. It is the environmental controls, processing controls, business continuity controls, disaster recovery controls, all those controls, or even patch management, change management, secured code review. What are the process procedures, whatever is there? For IT general controls, the chief technology officer should be directly responsible, and it should be under the oversight of the chief technology officer. Because a deficiency in the IT general controls, suppose the AC is not working, your data center may hamper. The UPS is not working, so there may be a disruption. So IT general controls are very important, and it should be ensured that the IT general controls are always ensured. Like a data center and all dedicated teams will be there. The HVAC controls and all, they will periodically, they will be testing the controls, humidity and all rodent controls. One bank could not function for some time because a rat has infected it bite a wire. So rodent controls, pest controls, how they are, all the things you have to see. Elaborate standards and guidelines by list of internal auditors. Not ISACA is the primary body, ISACA, IAEA, and government like PCI DSS. All these bodies will have prescribed, elaborate. That one of the best document is ITGC, IAEA website. There is IT general control document is there. Some of the application controls, like earlier also we have mentioned, whether sales orders are processed within the parameters of customer credit. The same thing happened in the Broadway Street branch of a public sector branch. What is the limit given to Nirav Modi? The limit given to Nirav Modi is very small, but the concerned person has given 2,000 crore rupee LOU, letter of undertaking, LOU. And that foreign bank, maybe new generation private sector bank operating from other country, that person is also not having any common sense. In Google, he has identified the credit facilities of Mr. Nirav Modi. He could find that his credit exposure is 500 crores only. Whereas how the CRISIL and all, the rating available, the customer's rating will be available in the public domain. Okay. Then how an exposure of 2,000 crores was made by the person sitting in the foreign center of a new generation private sector bank, there is not meaningful. So you should, I am telling you it's a manual failure. It's not an application control. But later on, the Reserve Bank of India told the allowing of 2,000 crore LOE itself is a fault. They told after 1 million transaction or something based on the capacity of the bank, there should be a third authorization. No maker and no checker, third level of control is there. The third level of control, since inception, it is there in SWIFT. SWIFT follows 6I concept, 1 maker and 2 checkers. So we followed from SWIFT what SWIFT is following 50 years back. Now our regulator opened could urgently understood the he panicked and understood the risk, and he told after this one, after this control, after a threshold, something should be there. Here in this connection, I want to say my own personal experience. I suggested the bank, then some supervisors, top level supervisors are having huge powers of doing the things. I myself suggested long back there should be a threshold on it. At that point in time, they told the vendor Infosys came back or something that such kind of a control cannot be incorporated in the system, or if such a control has been incorporated in the system will be less effective and won't process or system won't work. But after the Nirav's incident, Broadway Street branch of a public sector bank and that bank was exposed to a fraud risk of 10,000 crores. Regulators and all got alert. And when they told, the Infosys also got alert. In this connection, I want to say the regulators can sensitize 1 minute. The regulator can sensitize the 1 minute. I'll come in 1 minute. Yeah, sorry for the 1 minute, 2 minute interruption. So application controls, you are aware. Within the parameters of prescribed limits, they are operating or not. And the goods and services are produced there for the purchase orders. Monitoring for segregation of duties based on different job responsibilities. Rotation of people is most important. The concerned person who has done in Broadway Street branch is handling the same desk for 6 years against the regulatory guidelines or this one. So you see multiple controls fail you. Even if the one control worked, the organization should have saved huge amount. Had he been transferred, he got transferred, but superior told he's a very good employee and don't transfer him. Had he been transferred, the bank could have saved off 10,000 crore rupees. So multiple controls. You should understand segregation of duties is most important. And Rasi's chart is there. Isaka has given a Rasi chart. Okay. Responsible, accountable, and informed. What is there? The roles should be like that. There should be conflict of interest, should not be there. Or your technology, you are aware, you are aware. The control should be mentioned. The control should be followed. Application controls, some regulatory guidelines, application controls all go through inherent and the controls Ministry of Chartered Accountants of India. Some of you, if you were there from Ministry of Chartered Accountants of India, then they are telling lack of transaction requires uniform processing of transactions, lack of segregation of functions, potential for errors and irregularities, dependence on other controls over computing, processing, potential for increased management supervision, potential for the use of computer-assisted audit trails. All these things will lead to deviation from the intended objectives and may result into financial losses. Segregation of duties, transaction trails, and they should be very critical. Internal control system. Internal control system should ensure that authorized, correct and complete data is made available for processing, provide for timely detection and correction of errors, ensure that in case of interruption in the working of the IT environment due to power, mechanical or processing failures, the system restarts without distorting the completion of the entries and records. Ensure the accuracy and completeness of output. Actually, any database itself follows huge controls inside, then only it will be a robust database and all, then only will be using that one. Ensure the accuracy and completeness of output. Provide adequate data security against fire and other calamities, wrong processing, frauds, etc. Prevent unauthorized amendments to the programs. The program library should be away from the developers. The program library should be independently. It should be not with the developer. The developer can't change his program. It should be going to the program and somebody has to release the version. Provide safe custody to the source code of application software and data files. Source code should be so securely protected. A few things on information system audit, it is basically works for a BFSI sector and mostly to pharma and others telecommunications. They become more vulnerable than BFSI with all the incident data breaches happened at AIMS, wherever critical nations, key people are getting the records, medical records of the leaders of the nation are there. Those kind of organizations themselves are getting breached through data breaches. So these applicable from not only from for BFSI sector, more to the pharma and more to the medical infra and more to the hospitals and all, and more to the critical infra like nuclear plants and your power plants and all energy. US and all energy is very critical, and you should be the information system auditor, or the audit function should be under the direction of board of directors, and it should be have an effective oversight by the audit committee. And the internal audit function is capable of evaluating IT controls adequately. It is the information system audit committee and the board should have an oversight whether the information system audit is carrying out its job role properly. And skilled composition of the IS audit committee, the bank has to ensure IS audit oversight. Designated member of ACB should have this information system controls related knowledge. Audit committee should devote appropriate and sufficient time to IS audit findings and provide appropriate guidance to the bank's management. IS auditor should act independently of the bank's management. IS auditor should be professionally competent, having skills, knowledge, training, and relevant experience to conduct an IS audit. What I am telling here is an IS audit oversight function, IS audit function carried out at the entity level. They can outsource the IS audit function also. IS auditor should follow a risk assessment methodology. As I mentioned earlier, the risk assessment should be in a position to reasonably unearth the risks happening to the application. Reasonably, application should be devoid of the fraud risk, and the sample size should be sufficient that all kind of situations will come into the sampling. So risk assessment methodology. IS audit has been responsible to IS audit plan, which is based on scoping and risk assessment. Earlier also we discussed testing accelerator tools and techniques. Continuous audit approach. That's what data warehouse and all. Continuous audit. Continuous audit, the purpose of continuous audit is to come out to a deviation very close to its happening tail. Concurrent audit is something like that. Continuous audit is a little more sharper than concurrent audit. US and all audit tools, they throw away errors and all those kind of tools. And those errors will be analyzed and ensured that they are not wrong things. So with this, I say thank you to you. I thank you for your patience in listening. And I am open for any questions from your end. It will be more interactive basis based on something or whatever you need.
I'm here. Okay. I'm here. I'm allowing everybody to unmute themselves. So any question, answer, you will be most welcome. Okay. Anybody wants to ask a question, they can unmute and ask the question.
Two things is that you are having any doubt in pursuing CISA also. You can have your doubts to pursuing and all. IS for 27001 related or information system audit, whatever things we can. I can give a broad idea.
And we do have a lot of guidance available from members. Those who want CP directly, WhatsApp me or email me. I would see that you will get a CP hours. Okay. And this system audit is a huge subject on its own. Okay. And in particular for bank, Mr. Gudgu has worked for so many years in a bank, and the way he has delivered the talk on different forums, I know we can beat the world in so many ways, in abroad, in USA, and in many other countries where manpower is in shortage, knowledge is in shortage. People don't know how to do audit. Okay, if we make a group here in Isaka and we share the knowledge, every week we are ready to solve. And there may be a question answer session. There may be a question answer in writing also. So this way, if you go, this country is, and the amount of, I'm a CA, okay, and we do financial audit, okay, but which is like CISA audit, KSSP audit, is more than this, because the security lapses are so huge. One lapse can make huge losses. So I wish people join, understand, and go ahead and implement. The more you implement, the more clarity it will be developed. Mr. Satya, you can share some of your experience from bank, practical experience. There are few small mistake and a huge loss to a bank. Mr. Satya?
Yeah, if they ask, it will be more better. I am telling you, just now I am referred to one case.
Priyank, you can unmute yourself. Now I have allowed everybody to unmute themselves. I will remove my security.
Yep. Am I audible?
You can unmute and ask the question. Welcome.
Yep. Thank you, Satya. I heard entire session and I found it's very interesting session from your side, and especially what experience you are carrying. It's of course is going to be a good session for us. So I have one specific question. So since you had worked with Bank of Baroda, so upcoming AI technologies, what we are hearing on a day-to-day basis, how they are going to impact internal audit and how we are going to cover AI technology part of our internal audit scope. So are we considering them as one of the application, or we are planning to have some other procedures around those applications?
Mr. Satya, I can. Mr.
One
Satya,
minute. 1 minute.
Mr. Satya, I can give an answer on behalf of you. Okay, I know. Suppose AI is going to be the day, is beyond imagination. I tell you. Let me give you an example. There is a war between Ukraine and Russia. Okay, and AI is used there. AI is used to find so many things. And in audit, AI is going to be used so frequently. What is AI? Do you know that AI depends on the tagging of the events, tagging of our input and output. The more AI is, what was previously happening? Previously, there was no processor. Previously, there were lack of computing skill, computing capability. Now, computing capability has increased many folds. So, computing capability is not an issue. But in AI, what is the main issue is a data tagging. What do you mean by data tagging? Suppose you do an audit, you give an input, and you produce a result. And on the basis of that, data tagging would play a major role. So, in audit, there would be an implementation of AI. Have I answered your question?
Right, right. So, Nitin sir, here we basically are definitely going to deploy AI part of our audit procedure. But when it comes to auditing AI itself, so we understand, see, it's not going to be traditional way like entire SDLC we are going to review. It's like because see, they don't go under change based on our code changes, right?
But
They
how
learn
how
themselves.
how 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 you will do AI audit if you have been given? I would look at like this. There is a black box approach, okay, and there is a internal approach. What do you mean by black box approach? You don't see what is inside. You see you give the you see the input and output. You trust the process, and sometimes you need to go to a coding done by you.
Right.
But nowadays, coding and this AI is very difficult part of it. So it would be considered as a black box approach majorly. Mr. Satya, do you want to say something on that?
No, yeah, you covered mostly. So yeah, this is not for AI or anything. Suppose treasury you are going and you are not, you are from technology background and you are given to audit the treasury observations or something. So actually our core competency is the control environment and what security should be there at every software development life cycle or agile cycle. And you will be interviewing uh, your whatever is there. You will be interviewing and you will be gathering the information from them how they are doing the process, whether the process were following the set procedures or not. Okay, input control, processing control, output control, desired outputs are there, auditing around the control or something, not auditing this one. Like what I'm telling, situations I have faced where I don't know anything. But I need to, but whether I can give a 100% audit, again a doubt, but reasonably I can ensure whether the controls they are following or not. Nitin has covered certain things. Whether that code, whatever code we are not, will not be in a position to understand whether a code review is there, whether the code review is showing any errors or something, whether the errors were remediated or not. You will be understanding your auditee, and you will be understanding the auditee and whatever he says and whatever is there. For that, you will evolve your own risk and it will be tailored to that one. And I am not in a position to give exactly for AI auditing what controls. I am specifically you are telling for any audit what are the controls. You will hear, you will understand process. What is the objective? It is ensuring and whether it is ensuring that objective or not. But your question is a great question. The internal audit has to and ISACA body has to come out with that how the AI will be audited or something. Maybe some articles may be there on the Visaka website, and it's if it is there, I will Google and I will search and I will send and I will also understand myself. Like Nitin told also, whatever the controls are there, whether the controls are working intendedly or not, that will be.
So anyone else wants to ask a question?
Partially might have.
Oh, it's a good answer. So of course it's a continuous process to learn AI. Yeah, it's a again we are also looking for any guidance. So of course many white paper issued by ISACA recently as well as in past, but yes, not as a work program kind of thing. We are looking forward from ISACA to issue on this.
I tell you about my story. Okay, uh, I passed my CA in 1985. Okay, and at that time there was no GST. Okay, and people who have studied later on know much better about GST. But when it comes to reading of a material on GST, the more you become older, the more you have read in the lifetime, the more it would be clear. So what is the meaning by that? Those who know audit on other part of other than AI would be far more efficient in doing audit in AI because the concept of audit remains the same. Concept of checking remains the same. So it starts with the materiality, it starts with the depth of the things, it starts with the documentation, what documentation, what were the, like, what are the input they required, what was the purpose for which this AI is developed. So it starts with the documentation of what purpose which AI has been given, and then whoever involved, what are the process they have followed. All documentation would work. At the end of the day, documentation itself is what. Any
Agree.
other question?
Agree. One more question. So part
Yeah.
of last line, Satya said that continuous audit is going to be the approach. So part of his Bank of Baroda career. So what
Hmm.
kind of continuous audit they were performing part
No,
of IT audit
it's not.
process?
हाँ, सत्य मेरे को जवाब देने दो.
No, no, no.
Sत्य, let me answer.
No,
Okay.
no, 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 1 minute. I want to do now. 1 week back, I am away from Bank of Baroda. Okay, the continuous audit part, it's not so continuous. We are not having any audit program tools or something that will trigger. We extensively use to data warehouse. Like what I told, not data warehouse, even near this one, to that actually it is a it is human talent involved only. I will tell you one incident. One large branch, Delhi-based branch, has given 1,200 crore loan account. Okay. And the 1,200 crore loan account was closed on the next day or 2 days after it was closed. So one of the rules I made is account opened and closed in short period of time, like 15 days, because a loan will be there for long time. So what I observed is these 2 days, the account was closed, Government Food Corporation of India or something, it was closed. The amount was remitted to another nationalized bank. After that, I was closed that account and I have not applied any interest. So whatever is there, data warehouse, we to have a lot of dump we to get to from at the end of the day, every day we to get. And I got this, I have seen these big accounts were opened and they were closed, and bank has an outlay of funds for 2 days, 1,200 crores. Immediately we have written to the vertical head or the business leader, and they have came to the reply that due to certain issues, the loan was not materialized. And this one, the observation of the auditor is my observation only. The observation is why the 2 days of outlay of funds, something they have to, the other bank has to give that one. So this, whatever continuous audit or concurrent audit, your subject matter expertise always gives you lot of inputs. My success in Bank of Baroda, whatever I could de-risk Bank of Baroda also from lot of things. What if the Nirav Modi incident happened? Happened in one of the biggest banks, 12,000 crores. That should not have happened had the banking industry adopted my suggestion. I've given a decade back that there should be a control on a cap, maximum cap on a transaction to be permitted. Now Reserve Bank of India made mandatorily. Now that they are telling that above 1 million or above 10 million, whatever your algorithm says, that transaction should not freely flow away from your system. So whatever continuous audit monitoring is there, your business understanding is most required. Domain expertise is more required. That will add, like a FDR you have given at 24%. Immediately you identify and you will do. Account opened and closed. And fictitious account. One individual created a fictitious account. I am not telling about Bank of Baroda. Bank of Baroda is a good bank. I am telling about other banks. The assets and liability. He opened a loan account in your name and SP account transferred funds to SP account. So he created a fictitious balance sheet and he got reward. And the account was closed in 14 days without applying interest. Then I shot a letter to him. How can a 1 crore account was closed without interest? He fictitiously created the balance sheet. Sachem, what happened in Sachem? Sachem is a fictitious balance sheet creation only. Ghost employees is created. Ghost bank deposits is created. Ghost revenues is created. Everything he created is a ghost balance sheet. So continuous audit or data warehouse, lot of things I could able to identify in the bank and de-risk the bank continuously, and I got a lot of appreciations. Interest on interest. one flag is there. That flag was not applied for a very big account. So for that, the little subject matter expertise is required. Are you technology, you are a leader and all, you can consult those kind of things in a daily meeting with your colleagues or think tank or sitting together for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. How you can bridge the gap. Actually, information system audit, they say the information audit function should have the ability. So you are not a financial expert. Nitin is a financial expert, you are an IT expert. But you three should come together on a daily basis, 15 minutes, share experiences and all. Collectively should be trying to mitigate the risk of something. So continuous monitoring is through data warehouse and all. That alerts will be generated. Actually, this kind of a continuous monitoring, I am telling you a little away, a banking industry was prescribed by Anti-Money Laundering Acts. Prevention of Money Laundering Act is a very stringent act. Those whatever monitoring, centralized transaction monitoring units will be there throughout the world. Our Pune, all global banks transaction monitoring units are there in our Pune only. Global AML checks are being processed in India only, Bombay and Pune only. There, this continuous audit will be there. Whatever the rules you created, okay, one customer 10 times and all, you trigger it. And your internet banking follows this continuous monitoring. Internal banking, you have observed. They will ask you two-factor authentication. They will ask you challenge question. How you are getting a challenge question? That system, the continuous monitoring knows that you are operating from a new PC that was not operated earlier. So your risk profiling and score will go to a threshold, then it will, OTP will come up to one threshold, two-factor authentication. If your risk has increased, 2 successive transactions you have gone abroad and doing, then it will ask you your challenge question. So I am giving you an example of AML checks where continuous monitoring is happening in banking industry. All global banks are doing, India is the base. And your credit card, whatever is Bob cards and all, whatever you are there, we are using credit card, the risk two-factor authentication and challenge question. That's also a continuous monitoring. They will come to you and they will trigger you and they will continuously mitigate. And there are some places where the bank has taken such a call, the transaction will not be allowed also. Now that the fraud risk and all, SaaS application they are using and all, a threshold is there. Bank is coming to a place where they will not allow you to do your transactions. And you know, positive pay system we adopted from the Western world, above 5 lakhs or something, the positive pay for your check was there, then you will be continuously, you have to do it. Earlier, the risks for check fraud cases used to happen. Now those kind of things will not happen through positive pay. As far as they were concerned, as continuous monitoring, the credit card payments are happening. The continuous monitoring carried out by Visa only saved Pune-based cooperative bank. There is a global Indian agency there based out at Bombay, national agency that processes card data. That agency has not given any alert to the cooperative bank. It is Visa that has alerted most bank, cooperative bank, that your transactions are hitting my threshold. Like Madam Indira Gandhi was assassinated, Indians first came to know through BBC, not any Indian channel. Even today, also 2 years back, 3 years back, Visa has having told the cooperative bank in Pune, something is wrong, going on wrong. Lucky that this bank is having tie-up with Visa, and lucky that data analytics and continuous monitoring of Visa are very highly effective and efficient. That's why the bank is still surviving. So kudos to whom? Kudos to Visa. The country should have the guts to celebrate, and they should have articulate this, and we should learn from them.
Right, Satya. So basically, we need to find outliers out of data, right?
Okay, so can we close the session now? Any question, just mail me, WhatsApp me, and Satya will take, Satya, you promised to give us some security feedback, which is a very big issue nowadays. Thank you very much for all attending the number of seminars. There are number of presentation available in my blog, cnithinempathakblogspot.com. And we are going to continue to have a few sessions. I invite the speaker who wants to take a talk on different subject. This is a forum. This is a forum in which many speaker come out of this thing, because it is a Zoom seminar. Nobody worried about your ability. Mr. Satya has an experience. I see that people have an experience, but then they don't have a courage to come to the forum and speak. I request everyone to come and speak and give the subject. Next 15 days later, and we are going to talk on GST and what are the AI they are using to catch the fraud which are happening through this thing. And AI is used by even income tax department also, and they are also sometimes mechanically processing the transaction order. So AI is going to be the day of the world, and we are also facing the same thing in AI audit. With this, let us applaud Mr. Satya. Thank you very much. Thank you for this. PPT will also be available. With this,
Within one last word, I am telling you, I place on record as an Indian to Visa that has alerted only, the Visa only alerted and protected that cost of that Pune-based bank. Okay, we have to learn a lot from Western world, and whatever we are adopting their own standards and all. We are having a great journey, miles to go before I sleep. The first Prime Minister was still applicable to India. And my sincere thanks to Shreyank, very sharp and focused and depth questions he asked, and all other members to be very active, and whatever things we are there, and collectively we could do this country a little better country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Can I add one thing?
Pardon?
Can I add one thing? Aruna Mehta here from Mumbai chapter, Isaka Mumbai chapter. So I just attended this session because it was Mr. Guriku who was presenting. And thank you very much for arranging this session. Very informative. And he has shared the experiences which will definitely add to our
Madam, you are
audit
from
process.
chapter?
Thank you very much.
Madam,
I'm from Mumbai chapter.
Visakha, Mumbai.
Yes, sir.
Madam,
I saw your name.
Yeah, Mr. Deshpande is my closest friend, and I associated for 7 years, 8 years with Isaka, Mumbai.
Right. Yes.
Madam,
that is why I attended your session.
Thank you.
Madam, our is a very small chapter. Madam, our is a very small chapter where only 60 members are there. We are continuously.
It will grow because in Gujarat, this is the only chapter.
But it's very hard to survive on the fund which we receive. And still we are growing good.
Yeah, I know.
Can you provide some speaker to me?
Sure. If I come
you have my email ID, mobile number.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, madam. Your name again, please.
Aruna Mehta.
Oh, welcome, madam. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you all. Thank you once again. Thank you,
Aruna.
Thank you.
Still, I vividly remember Isaka physical event I have conducted once. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, with this, we can close the session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All, thank you.
Bye.
It is a great session. Thank you. Bye-bye.